One. Welcome to the Weather Insights briefing. I'm meteorologist Scott Pitney along with meteorologist Jeff Lindner. We're recording this on Saturday, June 28, 2025, about noon in Houston, Texas. And we have disturbance number one over the southern Bay of Campeche, which we expected it to move into that area. It's in a little bit more favorable area for development with a little bit less wind shear. So, National Hurricane Center, again, giving that a 50% chance of development over the next couple of days. The thing is, it's got a small fetch of water to move across as it's expected to move into Mexico sometime Monday. And with that small fetch of water, it doesn't have much time to develop. But there is some signs that there might be some circulation starting to develop there. There is some convection around that area. You can see it on the infrared satellite here. You can see that small cluster of disorganized storms there in the southern Bay of Campeche. A lot of the energy still over the eastern Yucatan around Belize. They're getting a lot of heavy rain, and it's also tied in to that disturbed area of the eastern Pacific that we just keep seeing systems bubbling up one after the other in that area. So whatever this system's going to do, and here it is on you can see the water vapor satellite there. You can see the bright white cloud tops indicating convection and storms in that area. But even if this moves as expected into Mexico, it could bring some moisture, some additional moisture to South and Southeast Texas, increasing rain chances there for Sunday and Monday, Jeff.
Yeah, so here's our center of probably looks kind of elongated circulation here. I'm not 100% sure. We have a west wind down here on the coast of Mexico. Some of the surface observations here are very light westerly. But this is another one of these cases where the curvature of the coast here can help kind of tighten up this broader circulation and result in the development of a surface low. And we have pretty persistent here deep convection or thunderstorms over where we think there is some sort of surface. So interestingly enough, you can see these kind of milky, wispy clouds here. This is high level cirrus clouds and kind of wind shear. So just north of this little area down here, there's actually some fairly strong wind shear here. And so this is right on the edge of A, being too far south and being inland over Mexico, and B, being a little too far north and being involved in the wind shear here over the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. And so, well, what I like to show is this is the moisture plume, we call it mimic. And what this shows is this is the deep tropical moisture. And you can see here coming off the Yucatan, maybe hints now starting to show up of a little bit of spin here or vorticity, but you can see this is embedded within this plume of tropical moisture. And you can clearly see that even though the center is, or the main emphasis of this is going to be down here in the southern Gulf, there's going to be a plume of moisture here over the next 24 hours heading up towards the Texas coast. And so that's going to increase our rain chances. You can also see the spin here starting to take place on the eastern or the southern coast of Mexico and the eastern Pacific. And it's pretty rare to see systems this close together. I think
Yeah.
the southern Gulf system and everything is going to be in and out of here pretty quickly. But you can see here the broad circulation down here. We have east winds up here in the southern Gulf, a little bit of a north wind here, maybe a little west wind here on the south side. The Hurricane Center is going to put the Hurricane Hunter aircraft in here this afternoon and see what they find. It wouldn't totally surprise me if they found a tropical depression down there. The Bay of Campeche, it just doesn't take a lot to get
Yeah.
things going down there. And so it wouldn't surprise me at all if we get TD number two or even a tropical storm out of this eventually. And this is the European probabilities for development of a tropical system. And you can see here, they're highlighting some pretty high probabilities. So even though the National Hurricane Center is currently at 50%,
Hmm.
I imagine here at their 1 o'clock update, they're going to up those probabilities into the next category, into the high category, and then await the aircraft data this afternoon to see what exactly we have down there. The good news is this is going to move pretty quickly to the west. Like you mentioned, it just doesn't have a lot of time over water, which is a good thing. So a tropical depression, a low end tropical storm is certainly possible here in the next 24, and then probably making landfall 36 hours. So probably sometime late Sunday afternoon or early evening, right in this coastal areas here of eastern Mexico, and then dissipating here over the mountainous terrain of Mexico. And so really for us up here on the upper Texas coast, just around the Texas coast, just some increase in moisture, and I'll show that in a second. As far as the intensity forecast goes, not a whole lot of increase. A lot of that is it's really close to the coast, and there's not a lot of time. We're talking 24 to 36 hours for this to get its act together before it crosses the coast of eastern Mexico. This is the H-Wharf model. This is one of our intensity models. It is showing some decent intensification up to a 45 or 50-mile-an-hour tropical storm. Or that's a knots here, and so it could be on the right track here. Again, this part of the basin can be very favorable sometimes for development. It's very warm water down there, generally light shear as it stays close to the coast. And so the H-Wharf could be onto something. It wouldn't be surprising to me if we got a 50 mile an hour, 55-mile-an-hour tropical storm out of this.
Hmm.
But that really doesn't change what the impacts are going to be if it developed or not. Generally speaking, the impacts are going to be heavy rain into Mexico, and then tomorrow, Sunday, and then possibly again on Monday, an increased chance of rain here along the Texas Gulf Coast. So you can see kind of the spotty stuff up here on the upper coast. Tomorrow's probably going to be the higher rain chance day for us here in the Houston Galveston area. And then Sunday and Monday down here on the lower coast. And these are the higher values, obviously, closer to where the tropical system may go in south of here. And so maybe we get a little banding up down here on the lower coast around South Padre, the Lower Rio Grande Valley, maybe even up as far north as Kingsville or Corpus Christi. We'll just have to see. But, these are not extraordinarily high numbers. This is, generally speaking, along the Texas coast, some welcome rain this time of year. And this will continue likely, especially down south and west, into Monday before drier air moves in. Go back to that mimic image real quick. You can see all this dry air here coming through the Caribbean. That's going to push in here late Monday and Tuesday and really shut down those rain chances. The other thing I did want to mention, we always get questions about tides. Anytime we have something in the Gulf of Mexico, the tides are already running a little bit above normal because of the astronomically high tide we're dealing with right now. And so you can see here these tidal plots. The blue is here. We're just already high on the water levels on the coast. The good news is today is probably the peak of this. So maybe peaking up around 3 feet mean low water. That's the barnacle level. And that is not an issue really for most locations. We really have to get up around 4.5 feet before we start having issues down on Bolivar, the west end of Galveston, or San Luis Pass, or over on down towards Surfside and those areas. And so, yeah, there's going to be some water. It's going to be up on the beach, so you might not have a lot of beach out there. But besides that, we're not anticipating anything big here. And then today's kind of the peak, and the tides start going down. You can see the tides going down here as we get into Sunday and Monday, falling well below that kind of 3 foot level there. So no big issues on the tidal side, a little bit above normal, and then probably 5, maybe 6 foot swells coming in as we get into early next week, probably more on Monday. But really, this thing's buried so far south down in the Gulf of Mexico. I don't anticipate a lot of marine impacts. One thing I did want to mention, so this is today current for looking out through Tuesday. One thing I did want to go and show as we go through later in the week. So this is getting to Thursday and Friday. Notice we start to see a signal here over the southeast United States, in the European here, of the potential for surface low pressure to try to form along an old decaying frontal boundary or trough. And the question is, does this get down into the northeast Gulf of Mexico and into the southeast U.S. coast here? Does this stay a little bit further inland? If this can get down into the northeast Gulf or off the Carolinas here, there is going to be some potential here as we get into the 4th of July holiday and next weekend that we could try to see some sort of surface low pressure develop. And obviously, there's a lot of factors here, where exactly it is. You have land interaction, you have the trough itself. Are we talking the southeast U.S. coast and the Atlantic? Or are we talking potentially over here in the northeast Gulf of Mexico? Just a lot of factors, but I know, hey, we're going toward that holiday time, that weekend. People are going to kind of tune out a little bit. I don't think this is necessarily any significant threat here to the Western Gulf or would come this way, but it's something to kind of keep an eye on, and it's going to depend exactly where that surface low may form, if anything at all. You can see these probabilities are not overly high. We're talking anywhere from 10 to 30% in this range. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Hurricane Center begins to outlook something in this area here in the next day or two. And then we'll just have to see exactly where something may or may not try to develop and then take a look at the steering patterns then. So, yep, we're starting to get to that time of year where things are getting a little bit more active in the tropics. And, it's just always a good thing this time of year, like we've seen with the Bay of Campeche system. Pay attention, check the forecast at least daily, because things can change, as we're seeing even today here, as we get to this time of year.
Yeah. And as for Texas, 4th of July, everybody wants to know what is going on with the weather then. And for us specifically, it looks like a hotter, drier weather pattern for the 4th of July weekend going in to that busy holiday weekend. Of course, you can get the latest tropical briefings on our Weather Insights YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe and turn on your notifications, and also get real-time weather data on the Weather Insights website, and follow us on social media for daily forecasts. Jeff, thank you very much. Have a good one.